Richard 20 Jobs Lewis has worked quite a few different gigs. I've heard of a handful of them. Being the voice of a call centre, writing for the bright future of the bad website, and a BBC goon for old ladies short on their licence fees. That's not actually true. I didn't do that. So I was in a debt collection department. I was a manager in a debt collection department for the Welsh Electric Board, which doesn't exist anymore. So close. Of all the jobs you've had, which job was the farthest from who you see yourself today? Which of your jobs do you see as an inflection point of your working life? It was kind of weird because, like, I used to work in a chip shop, and I used to basically be the chipper. I used to make the chips. And that job was kind of miserable for a variety of reasons. This is when I was living in Wales. So I would get up super early in the morning. It's fucking, grey outside. It's raining because it's Wales, and you only get like 2 weeks of sunshine. And then, you have to go down to the chip shop about 5 a.m. because you have to do these things well in advance. So, and basically what you do is the first part of the job was transportation, because the potatoes would come in these huge, like, kilogram sacks. They would get piled up outside the chip shop. You would have to then carry the bags from that to the chip room. And then, so that was the first job. So it's just carrying huge, massive bags, kilograms of bags and potatoes, and you would just have to carry them into this little fucking room, which in the chip shop I worked at was a fucking, like, little, just a outhouse, essentially, with no toilet in it, made from, like, breeze blocks. And so you put them in there, and then literally what you had was you had a bathtub. You had basically a bathtub of water that you would have to empty your potatoes into. You had basically a sideways washing machine called the Rumbler. And then you had the Indiana Jones machine, which was just a bunch of blades, and that was the chipper. And the process goes like this. You get your potatoes, you put them in the Rumbler, and that takes off the topsoil. Then you take the potatoes out of the Rumbler and you put them in the fucking bath of water, and then you give them a clean, and then you go through and you pick out all the roots and eyes of the potatoes and all the imperfections, because nobody likes getting a black chip, right? Nobody likes that little black bits in the chip. So you have to do that manually, and you do that with, like, basically a potato peeler. You, like, scour them out, and you do that. And then once you've done that and they are looking, clean, you put them into the fucking Indiana Jones machine, which is just the chipper. It's just literally a bunch of blades that go like that. And you would put the potatoes in the top, and chips come out the end, and it would just slice them, just super sharp blades, basically. And you would do this on cycle till you had 4 or 5 bins of chips. To stop them going brown, because they oxidize, you would have to throw in this stuff called Stay White. I've talked about it with Jackie before. It's basically like a bleaching agent that you put into the water. You put a couple of scoops of it into these, bin of water. You put the potatoes in, and then the chips in, rather, the finished chips, and they won't turn brown the longer you leave them. And so you would do all this as prep for when, they opened at, like, whenever it was, 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock or whatever. And then so you would want to have, like, all your bins in advance. And yeah, the chips, the potatoes, when you put them in the chipper, that was, like, a pretty dangerous part of the job, because they could get stuck in the sides, and then you have to poke them out with your fingers, and obviously you could probably lose your hand. But that was just a miserable job, and I was getting paid, like, I don't even know when the minimum wage was introduced. I'm pretty sure I wasn't getting minimum wage. Pretty sure I was getting fleeced, but I just needed the money. So I was doing that. That was a pretty bad job, and I worked for a cunt. I worked for an absolute cunt of a boss. He used to come in all the time, and this was his favourite little ritual, telling me, a worker he was underpaying, how I was bankrupting his business. He used to give me this fucking lecture all the time about how I was costing him money, and he would pick up the potato peels and all the eyes and all the roots and all the icky bits of potato. He'd pick them up with his hand. He'd come into the outhouse, pick them up with his hand, and he'd go like that. He'd go, "That's 50 pence, that is, that you've cost me by not being more precise with your cuttings." And he was just a fucking arsehole. I wanted to stove his head in every fucking single day. It was just like, you can't impress upon you how much of a miserable prick this guy was. And he would just be on your ass all the time. He would just be, like, real thick Welsh accent. Fucking, come on, Richard, we need more fucking chips. And I was just like, for fuck's sake, like, you know, and you're just doing this all day, because once the cycle starts, once you've done that, you know, then you've got that's your morning out the way. No one's really buying chips in the morning, not even in Wales, where everyone just is a beast and doesn't want to live. But, you know, you end up then with the afternoon rush. That's when everyone gets their fish and chips. So all of your morning chips, they go in the afternoon rush, basically. And then you have to fucking do the ones for the 5 o'clocks. So it's just this procession of just, you know, picking up bags of potatoes, emptying them, cleaning them, and you would just do it for all day. And then you would come away, and like I said, I was probably making $3.50 an hour doing that, and it was fucking dog shit. It was absolute dog shit. So that job was, you know, I had that pretty much for a good few months. It was all cash in hand as well, so, you know, you're getting wrecked on that. But it was just like, it was miserable. I quit that job. I told him to stick it up his arse one day after he fucking went. He was just going mega ham on the fucking potato peels, and I was like, tell you what, mate, you fucking do it. You do it then. You're the king. You're the fucking master of the potato. You fucking do it. And it was mega awkward because it was a small Welsh town, so I used to see that cunt all the time. But anyway, so there was that. That was bad. And then there was the chicken killing job. That wasn't very good. I worked on a farm, and it was just where I grew up. It was just an easy way to make money, because there was this family that owned all these, like, poultry farms. There was loads of poultry all around us. And so basically you could get a job working on the chicken farm, but you had to do, like, fucking miserable work, as in you would have to kill chickens with your bare hands. And so that was bad. You know, because I don't take any joy. Like, I eat meat. I'm not a vegetarian. I've got a lot of veggie and vegan friends, and it's fine. You know, it is what it is. Vegans are taking the piss, but veggies, it's fine. And I can't really, you know, I get it. I'd love to do it myself, but I just like meat. I just like eating meat, so whatever. But I understand it's cruel, and I understand factory farming is evil, and I understand the way we treat animals are fucking, it's just wrong. It is just unethical and wrong. It's just, I guess, not important enough for me when there's so much human suffering out there that, you know, I've got bigger fish to fry, no pun intended. But it wasn't pleasant. You know, you would have to go into the field, and these were like free-range chickens, which obviously means, you know, they're not caged all the time. True free-range is a bit of a misnomer. But we went, you know, you would go in, and you pick them up, and you have to break their necks as quick as you can. You get trained to do that by using the weight of the chicken's body against its neck. So it's like a football rattle. You go like that, and you break its neck entirely, and it's meant to be a quick way to kill it. But you're just doing this in front of other chickens, and they're all squawking and fucking panicking. They don't like it. And you do 2 at a time. You got to kill one with one hand, one with the other, because it's the most efficient way to do it. And then you walk over to the guy who, we used to call him Psycho, yeah, a guy called Chris, and he would just be talking to himself the entire time, and he would gut the chickens, and he would be like he would be mumbling to himself, like, just like watching the knife go in, and just crazy shit. Like, he was just fucking insane. And he'd rip handfuls of feathers out, slit them from fucking neck to nuts, or not nuts in this case, as the chickens, and then flick the guts out like that, just gut them, and then launch them into a fucking bucket that he had next to him. And you would just that was the job. That was your entire 8 hours of that, you know, from like the sun coming up to it going down. And you would just literally pick up them chickens and fucking give them to Psycho. And then, you know, we were going at the village pub. But I didn't really like that job either, not unsurprisingly. But it was just a way to make money when I was a kid. So those jobs for me, I mean, because I grew up in a place where you have to learn all different types of manual labour just to sort of get into the workforce. So, you know, I've been a plasterer's assistant. I've been a hod carrier for a brickie. I've been working on various jobs on building sites, and you just do that. You're just a generic labourer. You just do things on a site. Go around with an electrician. I've done roofing. You know, so it's hard for me to think of myself in those terms, because I did used to be that dickhead on a roof in the summer with his shirt off, you know, like shouting about, "You all right, man? Yeah, you all right? Yeah, see you in the movie. Yeah, all right, yeah." I used to be that dickhead, basically, because the tyranny, the sort of psychological tyranny of being like in a working class neighborhood is there's this like aura that sort of tells you like this is it, this is what you're meant to be doing, this is like you can't do better than this. You're smart, but there's loads of smart working class people. You meet them in the pub every day, have great conversations with them, but they don't go places, do they? And they don't go places because your lot can't go places. And I've been really conditioned. You know, my mother had always told me I was going to go to prison, like my dad. So, and I wouldn't amount to anything. I got essentially bullied by my teachers when we moved to a better neighborhood. The teachers were like, "You're working class shite with a dad in prison. So, you know, you're obviously not going anywhere. You'll fail your exams, you'll fuck up, you'll get somebody pregnant, or you're just working class shite." So, you know, for a long time you sort of buy into that. You believe that's it. And that's why I nearly ended up joining the army, because that's like, you know, the Marines, I should say. That's the way a lot of working class people are, you know, it's a system. It's a prison of the fucking mind that they put you in. So, you know, you get convinced, I can't get out of this hell I'm in. And while it's fun doing a day on a building site and getting a wage packet in your hand and then going down the pub and fucking pissing it up against the wall, rinse and repeat until I'm fat 40 with 3 fucking kids and done nothing with my life. You know, the other way out is the army, and it doesn't have to be like that. It doesn't have to be like that, but it's what they do to you. It's what they do to you. And as I said, a lot of working class people, they get it from their own families. I had it from my own mother. I had it from my uncles, all telling me, "You join the military, you fucking pussy. You missed out on the pits. You're not a real man. Fucking journalism, writing, video games. What are you, man? Are you a fucking pussy? Are you fucking soft?" And it's like, just want to use my brain if that's all right with you. Like, so it's really fucked up in Britain in the way that we fuck our own, you know, familial line, because we literally, it's almost like they don't want you to do better. They don't want you to. They always say they do. I want better for my kids. Do you really? I don't know. So yeah, for me, you know, like, it's very hard to even associate being that person. There's like a big sea change for me in my 20s. Basically, that where I went from being on course to be working class shite, like everyone told me I was going to be, and I made a conscious decision that I wasn't going to be working class shite. And so, you know, after that, I went all in, got myself into a ton of debt, trying to write stories, trying to make this esports thing work out. And that turned out to be a terrible life choice as well. But obviously better than maybe the alternative. So, you know. But yeah, for me, those jobs, all the manual jobs I did, they're the ones that it's hard to even reconcile being the same person, because I don't feel like the same person. Actually, sort of ashamed of ever having been like that, and sort of being so easily manipulated into being that. But yeah, so, you know, there you go. That's that one down. Right, we're starting strong. What else have we got here? This is from, I think, is from £2. Everyone always imagines who would play them in the biopic of their life. So instead, who would you have direct Bellend, the Richard Lewis story? And what style genre would it be? Okay, well, that's good. I'm glad we've decided I'm a fucking bellend. That's fantastic. So it's a good question, isn't it? Right, who would I want to direct my? Because here's the thing: how would you make esports interesting? Like, how would you make somebody using competitive video games to escape a life of drudgery? How would you make that interesting? How would you frame that? And so you would have, you know, I think Scorsese does a good job of bringing the mundane to life in a way that feels real, you know, like, and but also grounding the fantastical at the other end of that spectrum. Like, you know, when you watch like Goodfellas or Casino or Wolf of Wall Street, you know, movies of that ilk, you know what you're watching is like, you're never going to get to do it, yet it feels so believable and so real, and you know, you can walk in those shoes. So I think you know, Scorsese would definitely be a good shout, because obviously esports It's hard to believe it's a fucking real thing. Like, you know, let alone that anyone would sacrifice their life to sort of gravitate towards it. So there's that. You know, would it be Scorsese? I kind of feel that's a bit of a cheat to pick him. I think Fincher, I think Fincher could do a good job. I think about like The Social Network, the movie, and I think that could definitely work as well. And I like Fincher's style, you know, in terms of the way that he, you know, his bleached palette in all of his movies. He's got a very specific color palette. So, and I think something slow and ponderous like that, because ultimately, I guess you wouldn't make a movie about my career. You would sort of make a movie about a point in my career. And I guess it would be the iBuyPower story, because that's probably when everything changed. I mean, the iBuyPower story wasn't just like transformative for me. It's all anyone ever really remembers me for anyway, despite the fact I've broke many bigger stories, and you know, and it transformed the CS landscape forever. And ultimately, it sort of, I know this sounds a bit grandiose, especially on the day that I've been nominated for Journalist of the Year again. I think it really transformed the type of journalism that people wanted to start doing. You know, I know that's like really pretentious to say, but I do believe it. I think people saw how hard I'd worked with that story and how fantastical the elements of it seemed on its face, and how much I persevered with it, because it was like a year. Well, it was like 9 months of work, really, for that one story. And, you know, and 6 months of that was going through records and trying to find a smoking gun to convince Valve to take a look at it. And I think when people saw that it had a payoff, I think that was important for a lot of journalists to see. Like, I don't know if we have as many journalists working on corruption stories if that doesn't have a happy ending, because in an alternate timeline, those phone logs never get found, and I look like a cunt who made up a story. And those players don't get banned, and they swear with their dying breath they never fixed the game. My reputation's in tatters. All the work that comes after it, no one will publish it because my reputation, you know. So it was really on the cusp. It was like a huge turning point for me personally, and I think a huge turning point for esports journalism in general. Which, again, I know that sounds self-aggrandizing, but I am just trying to be honest without being unduly humble. So I think that's probably the story you would do. A David Fincher story about like the iBuyPower fucking story and bringing it together, done like, you know, in the Social Network style, or something like, it's not by Fincher, but, you know, like Spotlight, you know what I mean? The journalist desperately working to get the story, you know, the journalistic fantasy, basically. Because journalists don't do any of that shit now. They just go after people with bad tweets. But yeah, I think I think that could work. I think that'd be interesting. So yeah. Next, Jerky's Minion. Bradley Martin has been saying he would destroy many professional fighters in a street brawl. Explain to the crowd why he would lose and why he would get his fucking jaw broke by a random Welsh or English football hooligan in a random bar. So yeah, Bradley Martin is like a really big dude, big bodybuilder dude. And he's been doing this thing on podcasts where he keeps saying, I would beat a professional fighter because I'm so big and I'm so strong. And for some reason, he singled out Mighty Mouse, who, the great sin of the UFC is how they treated Demetrius and you know, how good a fighter he is. And he's like Hall of Fame levels. And by the way, he walks the walk. It's not just like Conor McGregor turning up for the big fights for the fucking paycheck. You know, he was in a BJJ tournament, I think in Brazil, just recently, and he was smoking people. He was smoking fucking black belts. Like, I mean, the guy, like, he is the real deal. Like, the UFC letting him go and not giving him the contract he deserves, it's Dana White's fatal fucking flaw, really. Any fighter who gives him any pushback, if you're not box office to a Conor McGregor or a Brock Lesnar degree, you ain't gonna take it. And, you know, Mighty Mouse for me is one of the best technical fighters I've ever seen. So when you start saying, me, a bodybuilder, who probably's got like 150 pounds on Mighty Mouse, I will smash him to pieces. That's definitely not the full story. I will say Joe Rogan reacted to it, because of course he did, in between smoking pot and watching videos of bears. He did say that like he felt if he got hold of even a professional fighter, he's such a big dude, he would smash you to the ground and could obliterate your body. But the thing is, like, so let's now start relating it to real life, and you know, I don't want to shock anyone here, but I've had my fair share of bar fights, not proud of it, and I used to be a doorman, not proud of that either, in a shithole Welsh bar as well, so everyone's fucking wide, you know. You're all laughing at that guy, it tastes like JD, hey you guys. There was a cunt like that every night where I was drinking. So, and you'd have to be the fella. Police weren't coming out. You'd have to be the ones to put him out. So, anyway, there's a reality in bar fights, particularly with big fellas, and that is that they gas. They gas. Because no one wants... a street fight's not like this. It's fucking like that. People swing. People are looking for the haymaker, the one-hitter quitter. When you do that, if you're not a physical specimen that actually trains, if you don't have a gas tank, then you gas quick. I've seen huge guys, and they are fucking blowing out their ass after 30 seconds of swinging them giant arms, and they're not connecting. And that's, you know, generally the best thing boxing teaches you. People think you learn boxing for the striking. The best thing boxing teaches you is the movement. Teaches you the head movement. Teaches you how to slip, when to step up, when to step back. That's the skill of boxing, and that's why the best fighters, they don't get hit. you look at fucking Money Mayweather. He's just you can't touch the cunt. He's too good. And so when those big guys start swinging, they gas. That's the reality of the bar fight. And then that's when, you know, when they're tired, that's when your chin goes. That's when, you know, you can just put somebody in a hold and they'll just be like, okay, sorry, mate. And you just hold them till when the fucking police turn up or your backup turns up or whatever. So there's that. The other reality, fights always go to the ground. I can't think of many stand-up bar fights that have ended with people, you know, one guy on the floor and one guy on his feet. Unless it is the dream one-hitter quitter, which never happens. You're rolling round on the ground, wrestling like an arsehole in the cigarette butts and the shit, and you have to find a way while you're down there to be able to fucking do something that's going to get you either back up to your feet or give you dominance while you're down there. This is why, if you're not going to learn boxing, learn wrestling. Like, if you learn boxing and wrestling, you're going to be a street fight god. Like, it's as simple as that, because that's just the reality. Now, when talking about this guy here, he's not even talking about random fighters. He is talking about the most highly trained fighters in the world, and he thinks he's just going to walk in, pick them up and slam them to the ground. Never in a million years. I know probably the fighters are too nice and polite to sort of say it, but he wouldn't even touch them. And if he did go to the ground with someone like Demetrius Johnson, Johnson is going to choke him the fuck out, because once you're down there, it's not instinctive unless you roll for a living, right? It's not unless you're regularly in the gym and you're rolling with high level people. You know, people don't know how to keep the hands up here, so you can't, like, he'll be unconscious, he'll be out, like, there's just no doubt about it. Demetrius Johnson would have his back in about 15 seconds, would be my conservative estimate. And once you're down there with one of the greatest BJJ masters, they can do anything they want to you. They manipulate you. Like, I've rolled with black belts. I did it when we did that stupid WSOE introduction, which fortunately, I know and understand a little bit about fighting etiquette. They were trying to give me a black belt to wear in that thing, and I said, I'm not putting that on, mate. If anyone, that's like stolen valor in the fighting world. I'll get my fucking shit pushed in. Are you fucking joking? I said, go get me a white belt. So, because I was rolling with a black belt instructor for the purposes of the video, and it's embarrassing enough that he agreed to be putting a fake armbar for the purposes of the video. So anyway, I've rolled with guys, and trust me, it's so easy to manipulate a novice. They can do whatever they want. You know, they say like, do you want to, you know, what do you want me to go for? You know, I can choke, work on your choke defense, work on your armbar defense. You know, they can do to you anything they want, and you just gotta take it basically and learn intuitively how to defend it. If you don't roll, you don't know, and unless you have, you would be surprised how quickly they can just put you out. And so, unfortunately, what he's talking about is just super unrealistic. It's the fantasy. It's the strongman fantasy. That strength is all you need and not technique, and that's proven time and time again not to be the case. But I'll also add people, villains, wrong-uns, people who have regular street fights. Like where I grew up, obviously we had what they call an itinerant camp. That's obviously where Romany travellers live, and trust me, there were dudes down there that they were just fighting all the time for fun. Go to a bar, turn it upside down, find somebody to fight. And people like that, yeah, they might not be bodybuilders and they might not be trained technical fighters, but they just got that fucking mechanism where they just don't care. You can smash up them big lads all you want, and they just keep coming. It's all like self-image. It's just ingrained. So also, if you try to get wide with any of them boys, you're going to get fucking wrecked. So it doesn't matter how much you rep or how strong you are. It's just like that. So, I mean, listen, I've been around that a little bit, and because I grew up in a pretty gnarly part of the world, and fighting for a lot of people was just a thing that they do. I think bodybuilders, I think strength can certainly help you when you deal. But I put it this way: if he was fighting somebody in a street fight who had absolutely no experience in fighting, no combat experience, and didn't work out, I think the bodybuilder's got the advantage. But that's the only world in which I sort of envision it. Yes, if he picked up Mighty Mouse and smashed him on the ground, he could probably break all his ribs. But is that going to happen? Probably not. So I think a combination of like gas tank and technique, and if you ain't got those two things, you're not beating professional fighters. So, and it is a bit silly to suggest it, but I get why he's done it, because obviously everyone's talking about it, and we live in the era of the freak fight, don't we? Right, this is from Watch Doge, I believe. Oh no, Wookieepotamus, my bad. Patreon question. Overwatch proved that to make a successful game, all you need is basic mechanics and great porn. Do you think Valorant would overtake CS if its porn scene was as prolific as Overwatch's? Gotta be honest, there will be Valorant porn, won't there? But I haven't seen any. It's kind of interesting because when you think about, like, Overwatch, the moment that Overwatch came out, I felt like there was just a deluge of Overwatch porn. Like, I literally think, like, day one, you had, like, just some fucking weirdo, like, you know, fucking Widowmaker's feet or whatever. It was just there. It was just there immediately. And obviously we've had the story recently with Elon Musk and that fucking Amber Heard Mercy cosplay where she just looks fucking miserable in the photo. But it was just there straight away. So, I don't know. For me, I honestly, I think, I know this might sound a bit weird, I almost get the impression that Riot would sort of police that in a way. I don't think they'd want it. Because remember, Valorant is all about togetherness in the same way that Overwatch is, but it's meant to be, you know, we're going to all come together and unify. So, I don't know. But would Valorant overtake CS for hard porn? That's the one thing CS... I mean, CS probably does have porn, but it's a lot harder to do, isn't it? Because what you're going to do, you're going to have a guy from the FBI, like, fucking wrecking that terrorist dude with the bomb. Like, I don't know, it just doesn't work, but I'm sure someone will have done it. So yeah, I think Valorant. Well, listen, I think the porn is not going to be the deciding factor for the future of Valorant, put it that way. Whereas for Overwatch, it was necessary for the game's continued existence. Liberal Cook Loser, Reykjavik on Steam. With the high percentage of Finns in your audience, do you still feel an affinity for Catgirl Sanna Marine now that she works for the Saudi-backed Tony Blair Institute? Here's a relevant link, and he links to The Guardian. Yeah, obviously this is Sanna Marine in Finland. She quit politics and stepped down as the leader of the Social Democrats after losing the election, after losing a pretty close and contentious three-way election in Finland. We don't know for a fact if the deciding factor was that alleged video of her taking cocaine and partying. She had to come out and do a drugs test. It shows how, like, quaint Finland is by, like, you know, by world standards, that was ever a scandal. That was like the most ridiculous thing. It was like a video of her like dancing, and people were going, "Oh, she took cocaine and then she agreed to do a drugs test and all this." Whereas in America, it's like, you know, they have to give half of these fucking mummies cocaine just to fucking keep them up. It was a crazy story, and I thought she was a bit unfairly maligned. I don't know enough about her policy positions to really comment on that intelligently. I got enough going on trying to keep up with American and UK politics. But I'll say the fact that she is immediately fallen into war criminal Tony Blair's institute, which is definitely backed by the Saudis. He's spending Saudi money on, somewhat ironically, advising. So the Tony Blair Institute's job is they go in and tell global governments how to govern better. So it's basically like a fucking World Economic Foundation kind of knockoff. So the idea that Tony Blair is doing that to anyone and it's funded by Saudi Arabia is fucking just, you know, how do you... The dystopia is here. The dystopia is real. You know, Tony Blair, a man that basically fucking went to war because Bush rigged evidence that there was like a link to it. Well, Cheney specifically, you know, that there was a tie to Iraq. Then you send our soldiers in to back up America in what you call as a special relationship, and also that there's some sort of biblical obligation to God to do it. Then, to help the public get on board with the war, you sex up a dossier to say Iraq could deploy weapons of mass destruction in 45 minutes, that they definitely have. And then a whistleblower comes forward and tells a journalist that that was lies. And then that doctor gets exposed by the journalist after pressure from the government. And then that doctor decides to kill himself in a method that 100 coroners said could not be a suicide. I don't know. Yeah, Blair should probably be in prison, actually. But whatever, I guess. I guess that's just totally fine. So, you know, try not to think about it. Don't, whatever you do before you go to bed tonight, don't look up Dr. Kelly. Don't look up Dr. Kelly. Don't look up the coroners explaining, oh, the wounds on his wrist were way too shallow for him to have bled to death, and the painkillers in his system weren't a fatal dose. Don't think about it, though. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about the strange handwriting on the suicide note. Just don't worry about it. Don't think about what our government did to try and sell an illegal war, and how they're all the parties involved in that, by the way, from the Bush administration and the Blair administration, they're all out there advising governments on how to govern better and earning money and selling books and doing speaking tours. Don't worry about it. And now my beloved cat girl Prime Minister, part of the machine. This is I'll end on a serious point. Well, it's all serious, isn't it? But, you know, and that is that they absolutely disappoint you, all politicians. And what I've found increasingly is every time I see a young politician sort of, and they're quite endearing and different and relatable, and you go, wow, that's cool. Okay, yeah, okay. All right, maybe we can. They always just fucking let you down, and they turn into a disappointment, like, within 2 years. They're all like that. You know, remember, I said it before, like, you know, it's like you get behind AOC in America and you're like, oh, wow, look, this is really good. Oh no. She's already just making a spectacle of herself and violating ethical rules and not holding a consistent position on anything. The cages are back, you might have noticed. Remember that? Remember the cages? That were a problem. The cages are back. We're now putting. Well, do you remember the child separation policy that was evil when Trump was doing it? Biden's been doing that now for like 9 months. Where are you, AOC? Where's your white suit? Don't you want to go and have a cry about it near a mesh fence or anything? Nah, it's fine. It's fine. So don't worry about it. Unfortunately, it's just we're in a prison. We're in a prison, and it's not even about politics. It's the financial system. The financial system is a criminal conspiracy against everyday people, and we're all locked in it. And until we do something about that, politics is largely an illusion. So whatever. It's okay. It was only your life. Don't worry about it. Jester says, out of all the CSGO talent, past and present, who would you rather have at your back in a bar fight, and who would you least like to fight in a bar fight? As I said in the time, I said, do you want to ask do you want to ask this question again? Because we definitely covered this on a By the Numbers. So I'm going to just sort of gloss over this. Sorry, Jester, mate. But yeah, basically, I think Semler's pretty well put together now, and he's been doing BJJ for a number of years. I definitely wouldn't want to have to fight him. I mean, out of all the new talent, I mean, we're all lovers, really, and not fighters. You know, Launders is a lover. Scrawny is a lover. Harry and Hugo, lovers. You know what I mean? So, Maui, yeah, Maui's got something. He's built like a wrestler, isn't he? I mean, maybe, but he's also a bit of a hippie, you know, a bit hippy dippy. And Anders is a lover, you know. So I don't know. Sponge ain't a fighter, no. That's what I mean. It's like, you know, a lot of pussies, really. And if we're going by that metric in the CS talent pool, they might not like that. But yeah, I mean, I guess Banks is the Now we're getting into it. So Yanko and Kassad, they're real men. Stunner, obviously, combat veteran. Banks, he can get you any which way, get you with a doom buggy. So, but yeah, so I don't know. Yanko's got the mindset of a fighter for sure. I wouldn't want to fuck with him. Right, next. Right, Mouse. What does make a strong fan culture, be it traditional or esports? Is it even realistic to have large-sized fan groups when it seems that if you just add enough zeros to the number, they become more rabid than pleasant and pretty much out of control? I think the problem in general is fandoms are difficult to sort of maintain because fandoms start out as communities, and communities are supportive. Communities look after each other. Communities, everybody knows who everybody is. And that's, you know, and so, you know what that's like. You're probably in some fucking weeb anime Discord, or, you know, you probably are in a K-pop group or something like that. And you remember, you know, back in the day when it was just a few of you, and you used to, you know, you all knew who everyone was, and you all posting on forums, and you had like a little score next to your name, or a little symbol, and you knew who could be relied upon. You know, if this person's giving you advice, it was good advice, and all of this stuff. When you scale up, you lose that, and when you become popular, you lose that. And so what ends up happening is it goes from being like a support group into being more like an attack group. What starts to become the focus is attacks on the team, or, you know, the mute or the band or the celebrity or whatever it is, and you basically end up, that gets really focused on, because in the social media era, that's what gets everyone's ire up. You say, oh look, this journalist gave Taylor Swift's album a bad review. The Swifties aren't gonna take that, and then you fucking go and you attack them, and obviously, by virtue of scale, it can get really vitriolic, and unfortunately, that just seems to be what fandoms are geared towards now. They sort of view themselves as like a line of defense in terms of when people are being, whatever it is they're into is being like attacked, they have to go and defend it. And there's a lot of, I know this is going to shock you, there's a lot of sad fucking lonely losers on the internet. I mean, really, there's a lot of people, and like sometimes I can even be sympathetic to that. I get it. Like, the pandemic broke a lot of brains, and, you know, just the internet has become a fucking refuge for you know, people who aren't very sociable, or maybe they can't get out or get around, or maybe they don't want to, or whatever it is. And unfortunately, while that's a positive in a lot of people's lives, it also enables a lot of people who channel that energy negatively to become over-invested in things. So you go from being like, you know, how it used to be back in the day, I am a fan of this thing, but I can only dedicate so much time to it, to I'm a fan of this thing now, thanks to the internet and a website for everything and social media, I can be dedicated to it every waking minute. And some people are like that, and it's sad. Those people generally tend to be the worst elements in a fandom, which generally, by and large, are a collection of really unwell losers. Like, because you just have to look at it objectively. Like, I'm a fan of lots of things. Like, I'm like, you know, okay, let's pick some stuff. I'm a fan of the Deftones, right? You know that. You've seen me wear the T-shirts. So I'm a fan of the Deftones. It would never occur to me in a million years to go online, actively seek out anyone criticizing the Deftones and threaten those people. It would just, I just wouldn't do it. You know, I barely got time to listen to the music. You know what I mean? It would just never occur to me. So the people that do that, it's almost like the thing they're a fan of is incidental. Really, what they're trying to do is they're trying to channel a lot of anger and a lot of bitterness and fill their time. And the thing they're a fan of is a conduit for it. I mean, again, you know, you see it in sports all the time. Why would it occur to you, like, you're a normal person, and then the weekend comes around and your football team loses, so you type a litany of vile racist abuse at the footballer who scored a goal against you. But 99% of the time, you're just a regular, normal human being. But for some reason, you're a psycho when it comes to this one thing. Those people are losers. They are sad, lonely losers. They're pathetic. And unfortunately, fandoms attract. The bigger a fandom gets, the more and more of those that you attract. It's like, I've said it before, bronies, for example, are a great example. Bronies aren't real. Bronies aren't fucking real. No dude wakes up and goes, I really like My Little Pony. I feel drawn to it. No, what it is there was a group of people who maybe even ironically were like, yeah, My Little Pony's actually cool, and it's cool to like it and know about it, and they had a little forum, and then they became a thing, and then they became a lifestyle, and then it became a way of being like, oh, I'm rejected by everyone at my school, I'm not cool enough to be in with the jocks, I'm not sporty, I can't hang out with the rock kids, I'm not emo enough for the goth kids, I want to project that I'm different and interesting in some way, I'll become a fucking brony then. It's the same with furries. I've talked to ex-furries. I don't even know what the fuck happened. 1 minute, I'm just, you know, jacking it to some fucking Bowser porn. The next minute, I'm at a convention in a fucking fursuit. Do you know what I mean? It's just something that just got out of control because there was nothing else to fill the fucking time. And then you know, when you start filling your life with other things, you go, oh yeah, I'm just going to stop doing this now. And that's that. So I'm just saying, I think fandoms get problematic at scale because they become refuges for people who've got real fucking other problems, and they use the thing that they claim to be a fan of to sort of deflect having to deal with that. Right, next, Alfredo's other question. I'm given $20 million to invest in an esports organization in return for equity. Is there any org today that you would invest as they are? What changes would you make as a board member of an esports org to protect your 20 mil? I know this is a meme because obviously Carlos just said this the other day, but I would definitely buy FaZe, and you could buy FaZe for 20 mil. I would buy that, and I would make FaZe great again. And the reason is, like, for FaZe to be as mismanaged as they were by Lee Trink and co, that is a spectacular fuck-up. You have no idea. Like, EG had problems. Like, the EG management made mistake after mistake after mistake, mistreated all their good people, just scumbags, okay? But EG weren't in a great place when they took over. Simple as that. They were struggling for money. They were struggling, you know, to sort of maintain successful teams. It was tough. and very hard for a lot of the people there to kind of keep the lights on. FaZe were the first ever billion-dollar valuation. Their reach was like almost unprecedented in the esports space. They had cultural cachet, you know, people like fucking knew who FaZe were. Even mainstream people, even normies knew who FaZe were. All you had to do was not spunk a load of money on hiring fucking dickheads that didn't offer a return of any value whatsoever. All you had to do was just keep it fucking simple. That was it. You just had to keep it simple. Keep making the content videos, put all those nutters in the fucking house and let them do stupid things. Keep your nose clean when it comes to ethical stuff. Let your CSGO team be sort of run by Carrigan and be... That's all you had to do. It would have been totally fine. You wouldn't be in this mess. But they wanted to grow, they wanted to expand, they wanted to create a mythology, as Lee Trink said in that cringeworthy way. And so, there they are. I mean, FaZe being run into the ground is insane. It shows how broken the industry is, because there's just... That's the easiest thing to succeed with. So I would definitely buy FaZe, and I know for a fact I could streamline it, get rid of all the ancillary bullshit, bring back the influencers people actually give a fuck about, get some new influencers that people actually give a fuck about, only be in the relevant fucking games, the relevant esports games that have a future, instead of just picking up teams for everything and wasting your time. And I'd turn FaZe around in fucking 2-3 years. No problem. No problem. So, yeah, definitely. I'd want total control, of course, but I'd need it. But, yeah, so, I mean, easy FaZe. The intravenous DeMilo, IV Milo, asks, what are your top 5 favourite albums of all time? See, you're going to hit me with the Desert Island Discs, man. It's super hard because it has to go across genre, and then it's different all the time. It's like picking your top 5 movies. It's never going to be the same on any given day. So I think, I mean, like I'll try and pick a broad cross section, because it's hard enough to do 5 albums from one genre, but like albums I could just bump any day. So hip hop, 36 Chambers, that's a no-brainer. That album's just fresh as a fucking daisy. It's one of the greatest hip-hop albums of all time. It's got great energy to it that really comes across on the record. Great tunes. So that's easy. That's in there. I think DJ Food Kaleidoscope, that's in there for me. I know it's like probably a bit weird and a bit of a hipster pick, but that album's great. Super underrated breakbeat album. Then where are we going for rock? Cause you see, White Pony from Deftones, that's like got to be in there. Couldn't go like a month without listening to that at some point. And then also, you know, I do like 9 Inch Nails. I wouldn't want to say goodbye to them. But then you see Tom Waits as well. I got to get a Tom Waits album in there. So you probably go Swordfish Trombones from him, and then I've got one left. I feel like I can't take another rock album, but I would probably go for 9 Inch Nails. I mean, like the Downward Spiral's a classic, but if I take the Fragile, I at least get a double album there. But I don't know. It's like, am I really gonna? It's fucking hard, man. What? And then you know, then I'm leaving DJ Shadow. Leaving fucking Introducing and the Private Press out. That fucking sucks. Very hard. Very, very hard. No David Bowie either. Gotta think about Diamond Dogs. Real tough. I don't know, man. For like 5 albums, it's just fucking... It's insane from all of the genres. I'm like... Let me just check my playlist as well. Make sure I'm not missing any obvious ones. Shit, man. I got loaded and was listening to fucking System of a Down the other day. Very easy to forget what a good band they were. There you go. See, it has to be that. This has to be my 5th. Yeah, Soundgarden, Super Unknown. Can't leave Chris Cornell on the mainland while I go off to the island. And fucking Super Unknown was fucking huge. When that came out in like 94, you know, Teenage Rich. That was like, that album fucking blew my mind. Too Good. So that's probably my 5. Right, next question. How much copium is required for you? This is from, I think this is Pascaharan. How much copium is required for you to believe the Raiders can have a winning season? There's simply no way on God's green earth. I mean, listen, I've done a lot of drugs down the years, but I've always maintained connection to reality. So, no, unfortunately, we're a joke. I was literally going to write a fucking article about it, because it is, like, I say to people who don't really follow football don't know. Right, but I say it all the time. Everything's a travesty at the Raiders. It's always a travesty at the Raiders. I say that all the time. Everything's a travesty at the Raiders. And they don't get it. And they haven't followed this fucked up franchise, like, with just mistake after mistake, bad decision after decision. Remember, right, we're in this mess because Gruden sent emails with, like, racial epithets in, or rather, yeah, racial remarks, let's say, not epithets, but remarks, about a member of the NFL commission. And then he pissed everyone off so much that he got in some insane fucking Valley of Knives, Night of the Long Knives for Gruden, right? We replace him with someone who's just a stand-in, but gets us to wild card. Can he have a second season? No. Instead, we're going to go and fucking hire the unhirable Josh McDaniels. Like, for head coach this is. He might be a great offensive coordinator. Who fucking really knows? Because he did most of his heavy lifting at the Patriots. We know he's not a fucking head coach after what happened. So we know in his fucking last job everyone fucking hated this piece of shit. And so we bring him in, and apparently he's running the super sophisticated, the most advanced playbook in the world. Well, when do we get to see it? Because we've had one season of give it to Josh Jacobs. That's what we did with Derek Carr. Throw it to Adams or give it to Josh Jacobs. What's that? We're not going to throw it to Adams, but guess we better give it to Josh Jacobs then. Josh Jacobs, 1,650 fucking running yards in the league for the season. Best running back in the league, especially now that Chubb's got a leg off. Actually, it's not true, because it's McCaffrey probably going to be the boy this season. Derrick Henry's got too much wear and tear. Josh Jacobs is playing in this godforsaken Raiders team. Chubb's fucking legs off. So yeah, McCaffrey probably will be the boy this season. What a great start at the 49ers. And it kills me to fucking say it. So anyway, we bring in Jimmy G. I'll tell you what, I said at the time, he probably is an upgrade for Carr. And Carr was never my quarterback. I never really fucked with him. I was like, okay, step in the right direction. Maybe he can run the playbook. And then you saw that game against the fucking Bills. We were fucking clueless. We were absolutely fucking clueless. We had nothing going on. By the way, we bring in Tyree Wilson, who we said on draft day he was ready to go. Why can't we pick a fucking edge rusher? I don't get it. Why can't we pick a good pass rusher, like, from a draft? Cleveland was a fucking bust. We're doing this again with Tyree Wilson. We're talking about moving him to fucking tackle. Like, what are we doing? What are we doing? That was like our first fucking 7th pick. And now we're saying he's not ready. So you got that, right? The offense was a fucking joke. Adams might even have got concussed there right at the end, which would be just nightmare fuel, for our season. Oh, I haven't even mentioned, of course, as well. Yeah, we bring in Chandler Jones. Just immediately goes psycho. Not a problem. Chandler Jones just tweeting every day about how his stepdaughter, then goddaughter, then real daughter, then not a daughter, being trafficked or something. And fucking, he's saying that the owner's got a secret and that's why they don't want him to play. And we keep having to do wellness checks on this motherfucker. And then just the other day, he said, oh, my account was hacked for 3 weeks. My Twitter account was hacked for 3 weeks, and my Insta as well. And even though I was posting screenshots I could only get if I was the real dude. Don't worry, I'm better now. And then immediately goes back to tweeting insane nonsense. Straight into another wellness check. He's only been at the Raiders fucking season and he's gone mad. It's the fucking Raiders. It's the fucking Raiders. And we're still trying to talk that cunt into playing. He's a psycho. He's gone. His box is gone. And we're going like, oh no, listen, we want Chandler Jones to get well and we'll bring him back into the team. He's bananas. He's gone bananas. He's out of his mind. What do you mean? You can't put him in the fucking team. What's he going to do? Can't put him on the field. You still got to duty your care to the man. Holy shit. So there is zero, a winning season. If we can get to 6 games this season, because which is what we got last season, Josh McDaniels is a fucking bum. What has he appreciably improved? And I tell you what, it is getting my fucking goat. I watch all the press conferences and I don't know why I do it, because it gives me fucking heartburn, right? That cunt comes out and says the same thing every fucking week. He says, well, listen, we've got to do things better. And it's my job to do those things better. And obviously we have to do better. And that's it. And it's like, how are we going to do better, Josh? Explain it. Yeah, we have to do things better. You've been saying this every loss for, you're into your fucking second full season. How are we going to do it better? What have you improved? Our defensive coordinator needs to be fucking fired immediately. Our defense is a fucking joke. Josh McDaniels he's meant to be the offensive whisperer, the quarterback whisperer. He's going to do all this amazing stuff and we can't do it. And we just give the ball to Josh Jacobs. And by the way, you saw what happened there in the Bills game. They just shut Josh Jacobs out. He had negative yardage. Best running back in the league, negative yardage. You shut that down, the Raiders got nothing. But anyway, here we are now, right? Like, we can't defend. We can't defend. We can't defend the pass, and we can't defend the running game. So what do? What do we do? And our offense can't keep it long enough to stop those bloated... we needed an interior linebacker, like, an interior lineman, like the fucking deserts need the rain. We haven't got one of them. It is a joke what has happened to and so here we are again. And what's everyone talking about? It's another rebuild. We've been rebuilding since 2002, guys. When does the rebuild stop? Everyone we draft goes to prison. Like, everyone we draft goes to prison or does something insane. Well, like, guys, it's a joke. So no, a winning season, there is zero chance. I mean, zero. Not even in my fucking wildest dream. Not even in my wildest dream could we have a winning season. If we can get 6 wins again this season, it is a miracle. Because for me, even with the addition of Jimmy G, we've gone backwards. Just a fucking joke. And yeah, listen, we might not be the worst team in the league, but keep in mind, I don't think the Broncos are any better than they were last season. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. I still think they're one of the worst teams in the league. And we had to rely on them missing an extra point to beat them. And if that had gone to OT, we would have lost and we would be 0-2. And there's probably the only team appreciably worse than the Raiders is the Bears. What does that tell you? Anyway, no. No, there isn't enough copium in the world. Adam Oki, what fairly common food item do you just not do? For example, I fucking hate onions. Would love to know why, if there is a story behind it, or if not, I'll settle for a classic old man rant about it. Let me think. Common food I don't like. Obviously, the joke is, by the looks of you like all food. Right, but there must be something. What don't I fuck with? Yeah, I'm not big on tomatoes, but you see, the problem tomatoes have is supermarket tomatoes are never right. If you get vine tomatoes, they're good. They are good and delicious. And, you go to a good restaurant and you get that shit. Like a caprese salad or something. No one really does sprouts. You only do sprouts at Christmas. Cauliflower, yeah, you put cheese on it, it's all right. There's got to be something, a typical food that I don't like. There has to be. Is there a fruit I don't like? See, that's not typical. I don't like kiwis. They are slimy and weird and too many seeds. But I don't think anyone really likes kiwis, do they? Yeah, there you go then. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I don't like kiwis. There you go. Everyone's saying kiwis are good. It's like, I don't know, they're just, the fruit is slimy and the seeds are gross and it's hairy on the outside and it sets you up for a promise it never delivers on. They're just kind of really gross. I don't like kiwis at all, and would never eat. I mean, you know, I'm not saying I would never eat a kiwi, but I can definitely take or leave them for sure. They're fucking not great. But there has to be something. I can't really. I'm really struggling to think of like a food I specifically dislike enough to sort of like never touch it, and one that's kind of mainstream. It just doesn't work for me. Turnips, my granddad used to put turnip in the mashed potato when I was a kid. It was fine. I'm struggling, guys, sorry. I like food, I guess. I'll eat anything, give anything a go. Mega Awesome Man says, are you a cat or a dog person? We've definitely covered this before. And if not either, what animal would you want as a companion? I'm very much a dog person. Cats, I never get it. I just don't understand them as pets or companions. I think they're wired to be selfish, and maybe it makes sense from a low engagement kind of way. I do generally find cat people to be a bit insufferable in a way. Cat people seem to have like a weird superiority complex, like the cats themselves, you know, where it's like, oh yeah, you know, cats, it's very hard, you know, you have to work to get them to love you, and you know, it's a pet, like, what are you talking about? So dogs, I mean, it's not that I've got anything against them either. Obviously we had cats in my house, but I'm very much a dog person. I've never met a dog that's ever really got problems with me. Like, fucking dogs seem to be generally very forgiving and loving animals, and I think, you know, it's super fascinating to see how like different dogs carry different types of energy, different breeds. You know, obviously not, you know, I won't get into the whole we're banning pit bulls over here, those XL bullies or whatever they're called. We're banning them at the moment in Britain, but you know, different dogs. You know, I used to have a family friend that used to have Dalmatians, and they're just fucking hyperactive. Just, you know, used to know a guy who used to do rescue greyhounds. He used to rescue the greyhounds from the dog tracks. Fucking love greyhounds. Great dogs. Super underrated dog. Golden retrievers. My nan had a fucking golden Labrador, and my auntie had a golden retriever. Those two dogs are just like too pure for the fucking world, aren't they? You know what I mean? Like, they're just fucking, just super friendly, super nice. And, you know, pugs just are miserable and wretched all the time because they've been bred to fucking suffer, and it's just sad. Their existence is tragic. Yeah, and then at the other end, yeah, I mean, like my Uncle Paul had a German Shepherd, and they're great dogs. You find a lot of military people fuck with German Shepherds because they can be trained and very well disciplined, and they're both very intelligent dogs and good family protectors and all that stuff. Definitely fuck with them. Doberman Pinschers as well, great dogs. So it's like, you know, you got, dogs are great, and huskies, Davey's always telling me don't do it, don't get a husky, but I very much do love dogs. I've been brought up around dogs, and all my mates got dogs. Best mate's a mad dog lover. I just think, like, as well, in terms of like personality type, I'm just a better fit with dogs. It's got nothing to do with like disliking cats, although again, I think I don't get the attraction. I don't understand why people gravitate towards cats. I don't get it, but that's just me. I'm not saying it's wrong or anything. But yeah, I mean, dogs for me. The problem is, I would have a dog for sure, but when you're moving around a lot, like I've been doing these past few years, and fucking then you got to get permission because landlords are fucking like little tyrants that want to fucking control everything you do. You know, you oh, please sir, please Mr. Landlord, sir, can I have a dog? Can I live my life in your house that you bought when it was cheap? You know, it's just, you know, so it's super inconvenient to have a dog doing what I've been doing the past few years. But when I get my next place, I'm probably going to get a dog, so you'll be seeing a dog on the stream at some point. I don't know what I'm going to get. I always feel bad for the chihuahuas, you know. Do you know, I bet you didn't know this, chihuahuas are the most commonly abandoned dog. Isn't that fucking sad? Because they're little and yappy, and they're very needy. They have a lot of, like, what's it called, like abandonment anxiety, you know, whenever you leave. And people get them because they're small, and then they think they're going to be cute, and then they're like, nyeh, 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 nyeh. And it's just that's just what you're signing up for. You're getting a chihuahua, you got to know that. And then people abandon them after a few years. And when you go, like if you go to a dog rescue website now, 70% of the dogs are Chihuahuas. Like, it's fucking so sad. I might start a rescue home for Chihuahuas, like, because they're just fucking. They are a misunderstood dog for sure, and they get a bad rap. I feel sorry for Chihuahuas for sure. So I'm not saying they would be my first choice of dog, but when you go to them rescue places, man, that's a tough beat. I went there with my mate when he got one of his dogs. He generally does rescues, you know, and it is sad, bro. Like best will in the world. I mean, like I don't think they do that thing anymore where they put them down. You know what I mean? Like it used to be that you had 30 days on death row as a dog, basically, if you were a stray or a rescue. And them dogs just look heartbreaking. Like that. You see, I would probably have to do a rescue dog. You got to give a second chance. But yeah, I think I'm a dog person. Bukowski was a dog person as well. So, and William Burroughs was a cat person. So there you go. Yeah, lots of X-race greyhounds. As I said, there's a dog track quite a famous dog track in Birmingham. Yeah, we used to go there all the time, and it's mad that people just once they can't run anymore, they just fucking throw them out like they're a broken toy. Fucking gross. People are scum. Right. Next question. Any fun, interesting beekeeping stories that you haven't shared yet? That's from Hyom. I don't know. I'm not going to lie. There wasn't really a lot of adventure on the beekeeping trail. It was just basically a hobby to do. There was one time. Okay, so where I used to live up in the north, the king in the north. When I used to live up there, right? Because different. You might not know this, but you probably do. Different types of plant give different types of honey. And so where your hive is situated dictates the quality of honey. Now, there's a type of plant that they put in the fields. It's oilseed R word that I can't say on Twitch. But if you're a farmer, you know what I'm talking about. The bad R word. Yeah, rhymes with grapeseed, yes. And that makes really awful honey. When the bees, take the pollen and all that shit from that, it fucking gives you this really thick, white, waxy, not very sweet honey. Not very pleasant to look at. You have to, it's hard. You have to, spread it on warm toast if you're going to eat it, and it's not particularly pleasant. Meanwhile, if you've got, a nice garden full of roses and things like that, delicious, sweet, liquid honey, clear, right? So different plants in a neighborhood will produce different qualities of honey, and typically you get a mix, and you'll see that because you'll get there's honey with what's it called? It's got not impurities, but it's cloudy. It's cloudy. It's the different types of plant. So anyway, what you do is, what the Yorkshire beekeepers do is they move their fucking hives to the moors when the heather comes out. Heather is that purple plant you see on the side of the moors. When you get that coverage of heather, you take your fucking hives out and put it there, because heather honey is really nice. It's very sweet. It's a notorious, sweet type of honey. So every year when the heather would break out on the moors, we would move the beehives. And so your average WBC hive probably has about 40,000 bees in it. Me and my uncle, we had 6 between us. And so what we would do is we would take the beehives and put them in the back of the van, and we'd fucking go up with just a van full of bees. What you would do is you would I mean, some bees are getting left behind. This is sad reality. You would stuff sponge into the bee hole where they come into the hive and tape over it so they were in, and then we'd have a 30-minute drive down the road or whatever, and then fucking, you take them out, put them down, and this is just where you're at now. I'm sure it's super disorienting for the bees. Bees have a memory. They can remember things for up to 3 miles. So to move them, I don't really know how. It can't do them too much harm. I guess they get acclimatized to it, but it must be disorienting for the first couple of days as a bee. But anyway, you stick them up on the moor, And then you come back when the supers are filled up with your delicious heather honey, and you change your supers, and you keep doing that until the heather's gone. There was this one time we were driving up there, and, you know, my uncle's, he's Uncle Chris is a funny old bugger. And we were driving, and obviously you're going up to the moors, you know, these roads are all curvy, fucking nightmares, you know, no Romans built no roads around there. There ain't a straight road to be found up in the Yorkshire moors. So we were going round this corner, and we've just hit like a pothole or a stone or something, and it's jumped the whole van up. And with it, it's turned one of the fucking hives over. And because a WBC hive is modular, you'll just put in, it's like just stacked like that, each sort of component of the hive. It's fucking opened, and we've just got a fucking van full of bees. Angry bees. Angry, confused bees. And, you know, it's a van. So it's just a big white van. And so these bees, you know, it's like we've opened up basically the fucking Ark of the Covenant of bees. And he's laughing. He thinks it's fucking hilarious. We haven't got our suits on or whatever. We're like, well, what do we fucking do? He's like going, you know, we can't. I'm like, we can't keep driving with fucking bees. Like, it's fucking bees, Chris. So we had to fucking pull over to the side and get our fucking suits out, try and rebuild this fucking beehive. The bees are all angry. The bees in the other hives can hear the other bees, so they're getting fucking agitated because they think they're under attack. You can hear them coming up to the lids. We had to fucking rebuild this hive, put them back, fucking leave the hole open for a little bit, hope they start going back into the hive. They're all buzzing around. It was a fucking nightmare. But basically, anyway, in the end, we fucking taped back up the fucking hole. We still had a van probably with about, you know, conservatively like 1,000 bees flying in it. We just had to drive with these fucking bees all just bouncing off our head. Yeah, that happened. That was a fun time. So be careful when you're driving vans full of bees. It can go horribly, horribly wrong. Right, next. What's your favourite Wings moment and why? And that's obviously meaning Wings of Redemption, the boxing champion. So listen, I love Wings. He's one of my favourite content creators of all time. I love the way every time he was handed a fucking W, he could turn it into an L. So, like, adeptly. It was almost like sort of a comedy piece. Like, it was really hard to believe at times that Wings of Redemption wasn't performance art, because, you know, obviously, even being called Wings of Redemption, when there's been zero redemption up until now, up until this boxing arc, it was just incredible. It was like, this guy could take, like, he emerged from nowhere, he had a loving community, people actually fucked with his shit. All he had to do was just put the ego away about being good at a video game. That was it. It was all he had to do. Just like, it doesn't matter how good you are, you know, you're not a pro. But he couldn't do it, and he fucking, you know, ended up getting caught with that whole syndicate thing, trying to bribe him to fucking lose. And it just ruined his life, and then he became a lol cow. And then his community that loved and supported him wanted to laugh at him. He could have still took a W at this point. All he had to do was just accept, okay, I'm a bit of a comedic figure. Now, I am a bit of a lol cow, but if I lean into it and laugh at myself a little bit, they'll see I'm humble and it'll go away. But he couldn't do it. So instead he like hires like an army of mods to like ban anyone saying anything about him, banning anyone trying to help him, banning anyone backseat gaming, banning anyone mocking his weight, it's just like, he just couldn't handle it. And then obviously, yeah, when he was doing the Painkiller fucking podcast thing, obviously every time he had a good story on that and people were laughing and going, holy shit, that's actually quite funny, he had to take it too far and just fucking lean into it. He just fucked up everything so spectacularly and turned his life into a nightmare that he was trying to monetize. Like, imagine like, you know how you hate your job, right? But at least you get a paycheck. Now imagine you hate your job, you are bullied all the time at your job, and it's optional if they pay you. That's the world he put himself in. and refused to leave. So it always fascinated me. And as I said, one of the things I always love about him is just his turn of phrase, because like he's clearly not intelligent, right? And that's fine. But sometimes he speaks in a way that makes him sound like he's from another time or place, you know. And so my favorite clip is that bit where some guy's like trying to be nice to him, and he just says, "I hope your family die in an automobile wreck." And it's just hilarious for like so many fucking reasons. Mostly because the guy was trying to be nice. And second of all, who says automobile wreck? Who says automobile? Like in the modern day, who says automobile? It's not even a thing. And it breaks me every time. I mean, as it is, hang on. I've still got the fucking soundboard set up.
Rock bottom.
Rock bottom is great because he's never hit rock bottom.
Appearing offline does not fucking stop it. So stop giving fucking advice you know nothing about.
Complete breakdown over someone trying to help him play a video game.
I wanted it so fucking bad.
This is when he wanted the surgery. He was trying to save up to get a gastric sleeve. And the community rallied and he got it, and then he beat the sleeve. I've never seen anyone do that, like, ever in my life. Like, I used to watch like fucking as you know from if you watch I Hate It Here, the sadly cancelled podcast I used to do with Sam. I used to watch that fucking My 600 Pound Life. I can't remember anyone beating a gastric band. I can't remember that ever happening. And it's like, he did it somehow. And it was everything he wanted. And people... So I'm telling you, dude, he is like just a fascinating character to me. No, look, when I say cancelled, the Sam era is cancelled. Like, Sam's not coming back to content, guys. You're going to have to just get your head around it. It's never going to happen. He'd have to lose all sources of revenue and hate himself to come and do it. It's just... The Sam years are officially over, guys. You know, best will in the world. He's got on with his life and he's doing well. So, you know, it's fine. And I'm not going to keep hitting him up to ask if he just wants to fucking talk about stupid headlines for 2 hours. So, you know, whatever. The problem I've got is I'd like to keep doing the podcast, but realistically, it's pretty big shoes to fill to fucking replace Sam. Some would say he's irreplaceable. So if I get another person to come in, who's it gonna be? And I've got some ideas about people I think could do a good job. But yeah, but anyway, back to Wings of Redemption. I think unfortunately in the future he's gonna fuck up all this newfound love after he, you know, boxed Boogie and all of that stuff, because it just seems to be his nature. It just seems to be the way things pan out for him. But I hope he doesn't. I really want to get him on the show. I'm starting the podcast up again next week. Started booking guests for it again because I've got a bit more time now. I'd love to get Wings on the show, but he'll probably ask me for money. It might be worth it. So we'll see. We'll see. But anyway, yeah, I mean, like, hoping someone's family dies in an automobile wreck is just like the funniest fucking shit. It's just such an outrageous thing to say, and just so anachronistic as well as a term. Like he doesn't know what a car is. You know? He's fucking wild. Also, the moment when I think he self-confessed to having, like, didn't he say he was a fucking product of incest or something at one point? Like, didn't he say his parents were cousins? I don't know. He's so fucking crazy. I just love that guy. I just fucking love him so much. He's like one of my favourite dudes. Anyway, that's next bit. Next question. Jerky's Minion again. What is the best takeaway food in the UK? The reason I'm asking is I'll actually be abroad and work there for a period of time for the company I work for now. You'll have to hit me up, mate. I'll take you out. The best takeaway food in the UK, unquestionably Indian food. Good Indian food, which of course we have in abundance in Birmingham. But Chinese food in the UK is trash because, unfortunately, for whatever reason, it's been anglicised and sort of turned into stodge. So you get your rice and it comes as it's a brick of rice. You know what I mean? It's Just a brick. Like, Chinese food in America is fucking, like, elite. Like, UK Chinese food is garbage. I haven't had a good Chinese since I got back. I've tried. It's just too disappointing every time it turns up. Meanwhile, all the years I lived in America, I couldn't find an Indian. I searched high and low through Vegas and probably all through Georgia, but wasn't going to do as well. Couldn't find anything. That was like a proper curry. It was all just creamy, no spice, no heat. And it was like, what is this? Who's this for? You know? But it was gross. It was really sad. So, just really fucked up. Like, the difference between Indian food in Britain and Indian food in America is insane. It's actually insane. So, yeah, definitely go to a good Indian. There's a number of them all around Britain. But I'm talking, there are some places you just have to go to. So let us know when you're over, and I will give you some recommends, because I'm very particular about my Indian food. I have a high bar for it. And then this is from Zumba. The last question. What is my favourite chocolate? Now, I know, again, all the fat jokes. Richard, you're a fatty. You're fat, you're old, you're bald, you're repulsive. I don't eat a lot of chocolate. I don't have a sweet tooth, particularly. Don't eat a lot of chocolate. Really don't. And I don't eat a lot of sweets. My problem is carbs. That's my problem. Delicious fucking carbs. That's always my problem. But let me think. Yeah, Dime bars were fucking great. Don't get them anymore. But they were nice. Just butterscotch, wasn't it? Butterscotch covered in chocolate. But yeah, they used to be called Dimes. But now it's D-I-E-M. And apparently they were called that everywhere else. And in Britain, we just called them Dimes. Or D-A-I-M. But yeah, they used to be D-I-M-E over here. And they had another one that was sold with them, and I can't remember the name of it, but it was like a nougat equivalent. We did loads of stuff like that, like Snickers was a marathon over here, you know what I mean? We just, Starburst used to be called Opal Fruits. We just had to be different. But anyway, chocolate, you put me on the spot. Do love Kinder. You know, hang on, that sounds wrong, because that's just German for children, isn't it? I do love Kinder Eggs. Sound like Nosferatu or something like that. But no, I do love Kinder Eggs. Kinder Eggs are good, and Kinder Bueno is the bar, isn't it? They're banging. We used to, like, what was that? Lila Pals or whatever the fucking Germans had. Milka. You remember that? Was that a thing? Was that real? Pretty sure. If that's real, and I didn't just imagine it. Milkers, yeah. There you go. Yeah. They are fucking. They're banging. Like, they're banging. They are fucking banging. So, one of them. A Kinder. Oh, mein Kinder. Or a fucking mein Milka. You know, whichever you want. So, one of those two for sure. And Dimes, if they're still as good as I remember them. So, that's that. I've done the Patreon questions.